Hi everyone, this is Diane and I'm here to show you the books that I'm about to list in my shop. Now, I wanted to say that I tried out when I do a flip through and then I announce when they will be available in my shop, and that really isn't working for me. I feel like I'm always worried about missing the time. In fact, the last time I set my phone alarm for 15 minutes before it's supposed to be published in my shop to remind me to get on my computer and get in there and get it published. It's a good thing because the last time I had it scheduled for 6 p.m. on a weekday, and my daughter and her husband came over and her boys, and we ended up going to a little diner for supper. And we were there just about to place our order and my alarm went off. And I was like, oh no, I have to go home. So we placed our order and I came home and published the listing and then went back. I got back before the food came, but I didn't like having to do that. So that's a long story to tell you that I'm going to go back to the old way of just showing you the video and listing them. And there they are, and you can go and buy them. I'm still not taking custom orders or reservations. I'm just going to show them on video, and whoever wants them and gets to there first can have them. So, all of that long introduction, and now I'm going to show you the books I'm going to put in my shop. I can never seem to get my angle right so it's comfortable for me and you. Let me turn this just a little so maybe I can keep it in frame better. This is a journal that I showed you before that I made with Artsology's papers, and I was going to try to do a video tutorial on how I put this together. I do not have time to do that. I've got too many things that I need to do before I go on my cruise. I have the papers all printed though, so I will do it eventually. So this is made with vintage flashcard covers, some Tim Holtz fabric, a little vintage piece of doily, and some vintage trim on the edges, and a piece of seam binding. I just covered the inside just to make it sturdier with, well, I stitched it to cardstock or chipboard, and then covered it with this Seven Gypsies ledger paper. Goodness, I think there might be chipboard in between. I don't remember now. No, it's just this because this is cardstock and it was heavy enough, so it gave just enough heft to the cover. So the printables, like I said, are from Artsology. I will link it below, and it's a internal use envelope, office envelope, and she sized it down to make it fit in a journal, and she made it in 3 different colors. So when you buy this kit, you'll be able to print it in 3 different colors. Each envelope prints on 3 pages, front, back, and flap, with directions. So this is collage with her papers too. I got, I think, 3 different sets of her, what she calls tear papers or tear sheets. So I tore them up and collaged with them. And inside each pocket, there are 6 pockets, and inside each one is some craft cardstock with some vintage lined paper, a vintage tag, and collage. This is one of the tear sheets that I left. Looks like her head's cut off, but that's the way the collage is, and I think it's so pretty. So in between each envelope is one of her collage sheets that I just cut down to size. Here's the blue one, and these are printed on gray parchment paper, so the color is muted. If you printed this on white paper, and I showed it in the video previously where I showed this book, it's a brighter color. So there's some vintage ledger and the collage there. This book has been shown previously in a video, but I wasn't ready to list it yet. So I just want to go through it. I'm not going to pull every card out now. So I just wanted to show you it's got 3 envelopes with 6 pockets and a card inside each pocket and collaging everywhere. There's another card in there. There's the center. There's a card in here. This one actually has some writing on it. It's from a vintage science notebook. With experiment. Notes from an experiment. And then there's this one. I love that owl. This is from one of her tear sheets. Vintage label there. And another pocket there. So this is going to be, and you can put this in your purse and put receipts and lists and anything you need to keep track of in the pockets if you want to. Or keep it at home and just put things in there that you want to preserve. So this is going to be flashcard journal. That's what that'll be called in my shop. And here's the next one. This is Black Ledger. I love this cute little book, and I don't remember the size of it. I'll have to put that in the listing. But I put some eyelets here and just tied some black seam binding there. I did put corners, metal corners on it because they were frayed. And then on the spine, I love this, to brighten up this black, I put a piece of patchwork, vintage patchwork. It was not a quilt, it was just a square. And I love that. And then I added this wide pink rickrack. I left the cover as it is. This number was written here, but it did have someone's name and social security number. And I know it's old, but I covered that up with a little pennant that I made. There's coffee dyed muslin inside and this strip of ribbon. Now the kit that I used for this book was from Elsie Bell's Bookshelf, and I will link her below also. I love her kits. And it's it's a diary page kit. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it's diary. And it has prompts. So you'll get 1 page of each design with no words, and then 1 page with words. So there's 2 pages of each design, and I put all of them in this book. So that this book is primarily made up of these pages from Elsie Bell's Bookshelf. And I did back them with Old Design Shop's shabby pages. This is something I stamped and collaged up there. This is actually a page from this ledger book, and I reinforced it with some scrapbook paper on the spine. Here's one of the pages without the prompt, but it does have this digital collage on it. I added some fabrics to this one. The other 2 ledger books don't have fabrics, but this one does. This one's different, and this one says 1 random memory. And then some more prompts. 1 new food I've tried, 1 new movie I've seen, 1 new book I've read. So I will be using these pages in other journals just to have those prompts in there. This is a vintage sticker. I had a roll of these, I still have a roll of these vintage stickers that came in a bunch of stuff that I got. And I stamped vintage style on it and glued it on there. Here's one of the manila folder pockets that I made. And it's one that's sprayed, and just some scraps in there. This is a vintage petty cash voucher. I think I got that from the paper basket. Here's an envelope. This is one of those pages that I stitched together from my cutoffs to make larger pages, and I had some smaller pieces left over from making this book, so I used that in here. This is just a digital that I've had, and this is index card that I had stamped, coffee dyed. This envelope is a printable. And I just glued it shut. I didn't put the cards back in. It's a good thing because they would have been glued in there. And I just added a lot of eclectic things in this journal. This isn't as office-y as the other ones because it's a diary. So this is a journaling card that I had made. I think I made that in a Stashistry episode with this little stamp. And I made this one in the same crafting session, and it's got some piano roll paper glued down to the tag. So she's in there. Some more prompts. Just a little fabric cluster there. Look at that little digital collage that she did. Here's a ledger page from this book. This is a little paper cluster that I made. Another prompt on both of those pages. Another paper cluster. This is the second signature that we're in now. This is a cluster that was made by Christy from Ooh La La Crafts. When I order from her, she puts them in wax bags and staples one of her little clusters on them. So I use them in my journals. This is another scrap from that stitched together paper. I love this pocket. The negative from my numbers, and I backed it with this striped paper from Stampin' Up, and I just think it looks really neat, and I did some messy stitching all around in there. There's another collaged tag with a printable photograph. And two printable tags. I have to remember where they came from. I'll have to get into my folder of digitals. I have a folder of tags because I can't remember where they came from, but aren't they beautiful? I love them. I put them both in here, and now I want to go print some more. There's a pink envelope with some journaling cards. Some collage on the back. This is just a printable that I stitched onto some green cardstock, and then I put this collaged guest check inside. There's a vintage lady from a catalog, a vintage gift tag, and a little vintage milk coupon, milk ticket. This is vintage VTech fabric too. And there's a pocket that I made with a file folder, just stamped on it. And I just took a cut-off piece of cardstock paper and collaged some fabrics and lace and added this stamped lady. Just a couple little collages on that page. Third signature, there's a negative. No, that's not a negative. That's actually the die cut from some shabby looking dies that I have from Tim Holtz. It's just a piece of vintage fabric. I left it all crinkly like that, and vintage trim there and vintage fabric there. And another pocket made from a scrap of cardstock and a couple of embellishments. This is a vintage label, and another piece of the Bo Bunny cardstock paper that I collaged on. It's a piece of corrugated cardboard with some paint on it. Here's the envelope for this signature, and this is a printable from I know it because I'm on her design team. Got a little glue on that page. Oh gosh, now I can't remember. I'll have to remember. I'm on her design team. There's a little collage up here. It's really bugging me that I can't think of that, but there's a file folder with some stamping on it. This is a vintage postcard from Albany, New York, and another journaling card that I made from scraps, and a stamped lady. A fabric cluster there. And then I just glued on this little pocket that's been in envelope. It's been in my stash for a very long time. And I will tuck something inside there. There's nothing in there now. So there we go. This one will be Black Ledger Journal. And then the Green Ledger Journal will be this one. I think I had this on this way. My mother looked at it yesterday. So you could put it on either way. It fits both ways. This is, I think somebody sent this to me and I just found it in my drawer of, you know, hairbands and stuff. And this is actually not a hairband. It was made to be a book band. But I love that black gingham. So this is made from a vintage record book, and it had the green eye saver paper like that. It was supposed to not be so hard on your eyes. I put a upholstery fabric. I love that, the floral with the business. I just liked combining that, and I liked the colors. This is a piece of trim that Eve sent me from Switzerland, and then these are vintage gimps. There's a vintage label right there. I had thought about doing a little collage here, but then I decided to just leave it plain except for that, because this adds enough decoration. I love the leather. I don't know if it's real leather, but it could be. But I love that on the top and the bottom. The corners are rounded, and it's in very good condition, so I didn't do anything to the inside except add that. So here we go, 3 signatures in this one also. Lots of these die-cut numbers scattered around, and the beginning of each signature is some of my stitched together paper from Cut-Offs. This looks like a pocket, but it's not. This is a pocket, and this is a vintage library pocket, and it's got some collaging on it. Oh, by the way, this journal here is my design team project for Old Design Shop. I think I should do a separate video for this because it is my design team project and I want to feature it. So you got a glimpse of this book, and now I'm going to do a separate video for it. Sorry about that, and I'll be back. Bye.